going on, everybody? It's the Daily Fantasy Show brought to you by DFO. It is, what day of the week is it? It is Thursday, November 2nd. Sorry for the delay. Had the little guy sleeping in the car. Didn't want to wake up. Took a 2-hour nap. But here we are on a huge Thursday night slate. 12 games of action. Some Cookie Monster. So, let's just hop right in. Oh, if you want to check out, I wrote a free cash game article today. AD has his premium line matching article you can check out. You also get access to everything else that comes along with that. So let's hop right to it. If you have questions throughout, if you're joining me live, feel free to ask. I'll try to get to them when I can. So, first game of the night, it is the Vegas Golden Knights against the Boston Bruins in Boston. Be nice if my computer wanted to agree with me here. Anyway, there we go. It is going to be Tuukka Rask against Maxime Legacy, whatever he goes by. It's different for every team announcer. I love both sides of this game, especially Boston one. They loaded it up with Patrice Bergeron, Brad Marchand, and David Pastrnak. They are expensive, but this, even on a huge game, even on a 12-game slate, it feels like it's one of those. I will get to Anthony Ciu, but yes, I do like him tonight. It does feel like a Boston one or bust night. I hate those slates when it's just like one of those lines goes off. You know they're going to be chalky and they go off and there's nothing you can do about it. I kind of feel like this is a good spot, an awesome spot for Boston 1. They are expensive, though. They are $21,000 to stack on DK. I think they're the second highest or the second most expensive line behind Tampa 1, who's also playing my bum Rangers tonight, but we'll get to that. The decent thing about Boston 1 is you don't have there's no other line on Boston that I want to use. I mean, after their top line, it's just a mess. Their depth is a mess, but I think they can get away with it tonight against Vegas and Legacy. Also, the D-men are not overly expensive. Charlie McAvoy is the most expensive at $4,500. If you want to use him, I have no issues with Charlie McAvoy. To me, my preferred play is Torrey Krug at $4,400 if you're going to go four-man stack. I think he is coming out of his funk. He's probably going to be a little lower owned. The four as a whole will be, they might be chalky, but they won't be as chalky as, say, like Patrice Bergeron as a whole. So, yeah, it's really Boston 1 or bust for me for Boston tonight. I don't really like their depth lines. There's no reason to go there. It's just brutal. They need to get healthy. Backus is out. Krejci's out. Spooner's out. Like, their depth down the middle is just brutal. But that top line is loaded. They're on the power play together. And I want all the Boston 1. On the flip side, I just, Tuukka Rask, I can't trust him. I don't know. He's a decent play tonight. At $7,500, I need to wait and see, because Vegas can score. I do like Vegas too tonight. I think they're in a really good spot. Depends. You have to check out AD's line matching article. I was in the car for the past few hours, so I didn't really get a chance to look at it. But I would assume Bergeron is going to go up against the Neal line, which frees up Riley Smith, Marchessault, and William Karlsson. I really like that line tonight as well. I think going up against the depth lines of Boston is a really good matchup. I think Tuukka has been struggling. I understand if you want to play Tuukka, if you're stacking Boston, I'm giving you both sides of the coin here. I think Marchessault, Smith, and Carlson are good plays, and it's a nice way to save some salary. Game stacking, even though you can game stack, even though this is a large slate, sometimes game stacking a game with a high implied total is a solid strategy, and Boston won with Vegas 2 fits. You could go there, but I do like that. I did write up Colin Miller on the blue line tonight. I think he's a nice play at 3,900. If you want to go to Shea Theodore at 3,200, he did see time on the top power play unit. I think you can go there as well. Again, no interest in Legacy or the 12-year-old Dylan Ferguson who's backing him up if he somehow gets into the game. I don't see why Legacy wouldn't start. Maxime Legacy. It's nice on the tongue. He's just not very good. So let's move on to the next game of the night. We have the New York Islanders facing the Washington Capitals. This is my thing here. Holtby is super cheap, 7,300. I think he's going to get ownership because of it. I don't like him tonight. If you see our goalie rankings that we do up on Daily Faceoff, he's down out of the 24. He's lower on the list. He is 7,300. You take a flyer on him in GPP, but do we need Florida and Buffalo? I mean, both are in good spots. There's so many ways to go tonight, so I don't think anything's going to be overly chalky besides Boston and Tampa, but we'll get there. I do like the Islanders' top line tonight. I prefer to use them at home, but the Washington blue line is beat up. They're still without Niskanen, who's probably their best defender, which is, well, Carlson's their best, but Niskanen and their second best, which is scary to say. I mean, that team lacks depth. Late hammers, you don't have to. I mean, you can jump out. If you stack the right early games and you jump out to lead, you can hang on. I mean, there is some late action that I like. So, I mean, if there's late hammers, like if there's teams going that you don't like late, you don't have to get a late hammer because they're not going to hammer anything. You know, they're going to miss the nail. That's my bad pun for the day. But I'll go over some strategy at the end. So, Islanders one definitely in play for me. Tavares, Lee, and Josh Bailey, who provides nice salary relief. Start disadvantage in what? Cash? GPP? Season long? I'd probably go Zibanejad. Islanders one definitely in play. For me, they're fairly cheap because of Bailey. As a depth line, I do like the Islanders 2 tonight. They're extremely cheap, and Barzal has been playing really good. Barzal, Brock Nelson, and Eberle. Oh. Energy. On the blue line for the Islanders, Leddy is probably the preferred choice at 4,600. You can use Boychuk at 4,000 if you really want to, power play correlate. I can't tell. Is it lagging? I'm not lagging. If you want to use Ryan Pulock because he's on the power play, that's where you can go there as well. Barzal is on the top power play unit too, so if you want to use, New York Islanders too, Brock Nelson's on the second power play unit, Eberle and Barzal are on the top one. I am pacing myself. I'm tired. It's a big slate. On the Washington side, Washington's always in play for me. The Islanders are fairly poor defensively. I think my lean would be, Ovechkin tonight. You can use the Backstrom line. I just like Ovechkin more in this spot. They're going to avoid Tavares, who's not even a very good defensive center. So they're going to get either, Barzal or who's, I don't even know. They're going to get the depth of the Isles, which is not good. They might get Bolivier or Sezikis. Yeah, so Cam Ward. I don't like Cam Ward. I'm not a big Cam Ward guy. I think there's better spots on the slate tonight. So yeah, Ovechkin's definitely my preferred play. With Kuznetsov, if you want to go the Backstrom line, okay. I mean, either of the top two lines are fine for me in play. On the blue line, Carlson plays 1 million minutes a night. He's 5,200. I think that's a decent price for him. Orlov is cheap. He hasn't been producing. If you need a super punt, you can go. You can use Brooks Orpik at 2,900. I think there's better spots to go there, but he does play over 20 minutes a night. My goalies are Bishop, Quick, and Hellebuck. Who do I start? I'd probably go Quick tonight. Let's move on to the... You can go Hellebuck so you get a win. You can go any of them, really. In order, I go Quick, Hellebuck, Bishop. So let's move on to the third game of the night. We have the Detroit Red Wings at the Ottawa Senators. This really isn't a game I'm looking at too much to use. I do like Mike Hoffman as a one-off. So since it's a big slate, I will touch on the games that I really like. The games I don't really like, I will just briefly mention. I like Hoffman as a one-off. I think he's viable in cash and GPPs as a one-off. He's on the power play with Carlson. So, I love Carlson as well. If you're not using Ottawa at all, I can see Jimmy Howard as a decent GPP option. On the Detroit side, I don't know. I really don't know if you have to go to Detroit tonight. I do, the second line interests me. Larkin, Athanasiou, and Mantha. I think you can go there if you really want to in a GPP tonight. Is it necessary? I don't think it's overly necessary to go there tonight, but you can. You're going to get them at super low ownership. They're fun to watch. They're fast. They're young. I think you can go there. I have minimal interest in Craig Anderson tonight. You can use him, because the Detroit does struggle to score, I think. Excuse me. What scares me is Craig Anderson giving up like 3 goals on 19 shots. But you can go there in a GPP. And that's really about all the interest I have there. So let's go on to the New York Rangers traveling to Tampa Bay to face the Lightning. Tampa, I'm beating a dead horse again, but Tampa 1 is matchup proof, and this is a really good matchup. Rangers are poor defensively for whatever reason. Brendan Smith is going to be a healthy scratch. Nick Holden, who's worse, is going to be in the lineup. Stahl Kampfer is still a pair. You can game stack this if you want. New York Rangers 1, Tampa 1. I'm not that high on the Rangers tonight. I prefer Vasi and net than using Rangers. I don't mind the Rangers tonight. I think there are better spots to go. But if you want a game stack, yeah, definitely it could be a high pace, high action game. Tampa Bay 1 is the most expensive stack of the night. It is hard to get them in, especially with Hedman at 6,100 if you want to make it a 4-man stack. Nemestikov is still moderately priced at 5,500, but Kucherov is up to 8,300. Stamkos is up to 7,900. It's almost 22,000 to full stack that line. If you're adding in Hedman 6,100, you got to get a little bit tricky to fill out your roster. I actually, you know what, for the Rangers, I actually prefer their second line tonight to their top line, which is Hayes, Nash, and Zuccarello. I think they're not going to get the top defensive matchups. They're going to see the Braden Point line, which isn't very good defensively. So I think if you're going to go Rangers, I think New York Rangers 2 is the play for the Rangers. If you want to use Shattenkirk on the blue line, okay. McDonough's 800 cheaper, okay. You want to punt, I'd go Brady Shea at 3,300. If you're not using the Rangers, Vasi's definitely in play. He's 8,300. He's expensive. This could be a game where the Rangers lose like 7-1. They're just brutal defensively. I have no faith that the Rangers can stop Tampa 1 defensively. So I like Henrik Lundqvist. I can't make the case to use him tonight. He gets no help defensively. The defensive pairs are brutal. Mark Stahl and Kampfer set back hockey into the Stone Age. Like that's probably the worst defensive pair of all time. Even worse than Stahl Girardi from last year. So Vasi's preferred. Lundqvist, no interest until they can start playing defense. So let's go on to the next game of the night. We have the Columbus Blue Jackets traveling to Florida to face the Panthers. Definitely like Columbus top line tonight. I think Josh Anderson's still on it. You just have to check the line matching or the lines on DFO. It's Foligno, Atkinson, Anderson. Josh Anderson provides some nice salary relief. Florida gives up a lot of scoring chances, a lot of goals. So that is definitely my preferred play. I'm sorry, the line is Foligno, Panarin, and Anderson. If you want to go to the second line, Dubinsky, Atkinson, and Jenner, I think you can go there as well. On the blue line, I think I would still go Zach Werenski over Seth Jones. Werenski's $100 cheaper. Seth Jones is on the second power play unit. Werenski's on the top. Atkinson is a game time decision, right? Yeah, I think he's a game time decision, so I would keep an eye on that. So definitely the Columbus top line is the preferred play for me. On the flip side, he didn't even travel. Yeah, I didn't see that. Was been busy. Yeah, he didn't travel. Everyone's telling me he didn't travel. So I guess he's not playing. So definitely the top line for Columbus is the play for me. Foligno, Panarin, Josh Anderson. I would go, it's a choice on the blue line for you if you want to go four-man. You can go Seth Jones or Werenski. I have a slight lean to Zach Werenski just because he sees top power play minutes. On the flip side, I do like Florida 1 tonight. They have been very good this season. I don't really like stacking against Bob, so they're more down on the list for me, but you still can make a case for them in the GPP. Barkov, Huberdeau, and Dadonov, they pretty much were the play the last time they were out. They are at home, so they're going to avoid the Foligno or Dubinsky line, whichever. They're going to get a depth line from Columbus. Still, Columbus is a decent defensive team. Definitely can make a case for using them. They're probably going to be, the thing is, they're probably going to have more ownership than they should, just because of recency bias. So that makes them like a middle of the road play for me. If you're throwing 20 lineups in the forecheck, I definitely have some exposure to them, but they're not going to be a top option for me just because they're going to have inflated ownership and it's not the best matchup. If you want to use the second line, I think that's viable as well. I don't know if you have to go there though. You can use Trocheck as a one-off. You can use Verbata as a one-off because he shoots the puck. So those are the guys you like to look at as one-offs, guys who shoot the puck. Ekblad, preferred play for me on the blue line, 4,600. You want to use Yandel. That's cool as well at 4,300. I think there's better spots than Reimer tonight. He is very cheap, though. And if you're not using Columbus and you think that they're not, you can use Reimer in a GPP at 7,100. That's a preference call as well. But if you're not using Florida, I think Bob is a decent play. I don't know if he's one of the top plays tonight, just because Florida's offense is very good and they're at home. But Bob is one of the best goalies in the league, and you can always make a case for him. And he's 7,900. It's a decent price for him. Do I support feminists? Yes. Why not? I don't know. I support everybody. I don't take political stands. I'm middle of the road everything. How about that? So let's move on to the next game of the night. We have... Thank you, Perry. So let's move on to the next game of the night. We have the Flyers traveling to St. Louis to face the Blues. The Flyers are on a back-to-back. They got shut out by the Blackhawks. It looks bad on paper, but if you actually watch the game, the Flyers had 7 odd-man rushes. They just couldn't convert. Chicago gave up a ton of scoring chances. Crawford played really well. But, again, this is a big slate. Flyers on the road back-to-back. Blues definitely my preferred play in this game. You want to use Philadelphia 1 because they screwed you last night, and you want to, have that revenge narrative. Always play the people who screwed you. Okay, they're middle of the road for me. They're probably even lower than that because I don't like targeting teams back-to-back on the road. I believe Neuwirth is going to be in net tonight, or it's going to be Elliott on the back-to-back. Either way, I like St. Louis 1 tonight. I think they're a very good option. Shen, Schwartz, and Tarasenko. They're pretty moderately priced, actually. It's only a little over $18,000 to full stack them. And Ghost is still out. Gudis is out. So the Flyers' defense is pretty banged up. I think this is a good spot for St. Louis. If you probably can get them in with Pietrangelo. Butchered that. We'll call him Pietro. Holla. If you can get him in with him, I'll answer that I would use Jake Allen, but season long has nothing to do with DFS right now. If you can get him in with Pietro, I'd go with him at 6,600. If you want to use Colton Pyarko, 4,000, I think he's in a good spot. You really want to get punty, you can use Edmundson at 3,800 or Gunnarsson at 3,100. They block a ton of shots. I don't think it's necessary to go there. You're welcome. But again, I do like St. Louis top line. I don't really think you have to go to St. Louis 2 tonight. I just don't like that they don't shoot the puck. Like Stastny doesn't shoot. I'm like a broken record with that. I don't like guys who don't shoot the puck. Steen doesn't really shoot the puck. They're cheap, and if you want to, I get if you want to use the second line because they're cheap and they're in a good matchup. I just don't like that they don't shoot the puck. I mean, Vladimir Sobotka shoots more than anyone else on that line. If you want to use them, okay. Yeah, they peaked when Steen had his 4-point game. I get that they kind of correlate on the power play. You want to go there. Definitely preferred play. St. Louis 1. I think Jake Allen's in a really good spot tonight. He is 8,200. He is a little expensive, but Flyers on the back-to-back, coming off a shutout. They're down a couple defensemen. I think this is a good spot for Jake Allen. Neuwirth at 7,100. I have minimal interest just from the reasons I mentioned why I like Jake Allen, because the Flyers are a couple D-men short. They're on back-to-back on the road. They're going to have some tired legs. I think St. Louis is the much better play tonight. So let's move to the next game. Had the Montreal Canadiens facing the Minnesota Wild in Minnesota. My preferred play there would definitely... Yeah, your Habs did wake up. I do like the second line of Montreal tonight, which is Philip Deneau, Max Pacioretty, and Shaw. They're probably going to get the Koivu line, which worries me a little bit. But I still like Minnesota. I don't think Chicago's a playoff team. You can yell at me if they make the playoffs. I still prefer Montreal to, even if they're gonna see the Koivu line. I just think the depth for Minnesota is bad. Again, I do like Minnesota 1 as well. They're cheap. Price hasn't shown the ability like he has before. Montreal is pretty poor on the blue line. I think you can definitely make a case for using the Koivu line now that Nino's back. Montreal 3, I think you can go there. Yeah, I like Galley. You can use him as a one-off too. He's cheap. He shoots the puck. He's a grinder, man. He gets the dirty areas on the ice. He does what he has to score. But yeah, my preferred plays in this game would be Montreal 2 and Minnesota 1. If you can get Shea Weber in, definitely do it. He's still 5,900. He's been playing lights out. I wrote him up in my cash article today. I think you could definitely make a case for him in GPP. He's been playing great. He's been outperforming a lot of the guys priced above him. On the Minnesota side, Suter or Spurgeon is definitely where you want to go. Spurgeon, I have a slightly into Spurgeon. Just he shoots the puck more. Suter's more of a defensive guy. They're both averaging the same amount of fantasy points per game, so I'd lean for the $300 savings if you need it. If you want to pay up for Suter, I have zero issue with that. In terms of goalies, Carey Price at 7,400, always in play. It just, at that price, you just know what he's capable of, and if you fade him and he has like a 38 save shutout, you're going to kick yourself. So you want at least a little bit of a Carey Price exposure. I'm not really a Devin Dubnyk fan tonight. He had an amazing season last year, but if you look at the numbers that the Wild had last season, they gave up the lowest high danger scoring chances per 60, but they gave up a ton of shots. So most of those shots were coming from the point area. Sorry. So they gave up minimal high danger scoring chances, but they gave up a ton of shots from low danger areas. So Dubnyk was saving a ton of shots from the outside, making easy pad saves. Now that Scandella's off in Buffalo, and they have a bunch of injury problems, they've been giving up a lot more high danger scoring chances. And it's not really Dubnyk's fault that he's been giving up a ton of goals, but I just think that Montreal gets on the scoreboard tonight. I think you can use Dubnyk in a GPP. It's not my preferred play. He is 7,700 at home, so that's always an option. Again, Carey Price in play for me in GPPs. I would avoid him in cash, but yeah, you just anytime Carey Price is that cheap, you have to take a risk, especially if you're one lineup only. You don't have to use price tonight, but if you're entering multiple lineups, you definitely want to have at least some carry price exposure. So let's go to the next game of the night. We have the Dallas Stars traveling to Winnipeg to face the Jets. Dallas one always in play. I think this is a good matchup for them as well. Minus Hellebuck, who's been playing really well. I think he's finally starting to come into his own. But again, Dallas won, like Tampa won, like Boston won. They're almost matchup proof. They are expensive. They're almost 21,000. So if you had a choice between Dallas won, Tampa won, Boston won, I think I'd go Boston won, Tampa won, then Dallas won. But I wouldn't fault you for having exposure to Dallas won. Sagan, Ben, Radulov, I think is one, top 5 lines in the NHL, probably top 3. If you can fit Klingberg in with him at 5,800, go for it. Esa Lindell is always a decent punt. He sees top pair minutes. He's 3,300. I did mention in not my cash article, but the other rankings that we do for daily faceoff, that Matthias Janmark is one of my value plays. I like him with Jason Spezza. The thing that worries me with that is that they don't see much time on the ice. They've been averaging 11, 12 minutes on the ice, so they really have to do their damage in a short period of time. But they are both under 4,000. You can go there. If you need the salary savings, I like that play. On the Winnipeg side, it's always a question of which Winnipeg line do you want to use. For me, I'm probably going to go Winnipeg 2. It's really a toss-up. I mean, they're about the same price. I probably have a lean to Winnipeg 2 tonight, Little, Ehlers, Line. I think really it's a preference. If you want to go Scheifele, Wheeler, and Connor, you can definitely do that too. They're both in play for me. I'm not too high on Ben Bishop tonight. I think they can get, Line, he stands, especially on the power play. Line is in Ovechkin's office just shooting clappers from the slot. I think he gets on the board, if it's not tonight, very soon. I think that's why I like Winnipeg 2 slightly more. I know Scheifele's been playing really good. Wheeler is coming off a monster game a couple games ago. And Kyle Connor is a very good, promising young player. I think it's just a matter of preference for you. You want to use Bufflin at 5,700, okay. He didn't have a very good game last time out. I'd rather use Weber at 5,900. I know it doesn't really correlate. You can use Trouba at 4,700. Josh Morrissey, 3,400. If you're not using the Jets and you're looking at defensemen in that 5,500 to 6,000 range, Weber's my top option, hands down. But if you're using the Jets and you want to, correlate on the power play, Bufflin would be the play there. I like Hellebuck in net if you aren't using the Stars. I think, sometimes, the Stars are a little bit tricky. Sometimes you saw it a bunch last year. They get a ton of shots on net, but they can't get one across. Or, their depth lines, like, the fourth line scores and the top line is quiet. If you're not on the Stars tonight, Hellebuck is a decent option at 7,500. Ben Bishop is cheaper at 7,400. I don't like him as much. I think both are, viable in GPPs, especially if you're using the team. If you're stacking the team, if you're stacking the Stars, you can use Bishop. If you're stacking the Jets, you can use Hellebuck. But again, they're, more middle of the road for me. If I had to pick a goal in this game, I go Hellebuck in GPPs. So let's move on to the next game. We have the Carolina Hurricanes traveling to Colorado to face the Avalanche. Varlamov is back in net after giving up a touchdown to the Vegas Golden Knights. Let's see. Obviously, my preferred play is going to be Carolina. It's always a question of which Carolina line, right? Darling's not in net tonight. It is Cam Ward. I think you put me in a room and you don't let me out until you tell me which line to use. I probably would go with the Jordan Stahl line, and then the Rask line, and then Skinner as a one-off. I wish Skinner would get on, with the top two lines so you can use the whole line. I think the Stahl line is my preferred play. Or just, if you don't know which line you use, just use Skinner. Skinner shoots the puck. He scores. He's a bunch of goals. He's on pace for like 45 goals this season. My preferred play on the blue line is Jacob Slavin, 4,000. I really like him. He has a ton of minutes. If you want to go Justin Falk at 4,600, okay. Hannafin at 3,500 if you need to save a little bit of salary is okay too, but definitely Jacob Slavin. He's a young dude coming into his own. He's climbing up the ladder pretty fast. So again, Jordan Stahl line. Have you covered? I have not. That's coming up. That is in a couple games. Yes, I have a lot of tattoos. I don't think you have to go to Colorado tonight. I mean, you can if you really want to. Sorry, my computer is being stupid. Here we go. If you want to use Colorado, you want to use the McKinnon line. They were great, I think, the last time out. You want to use the Duchesne line. Okay. I don't know if you have to go to Colorado tonight. I think McKinnon is a decent one-off at 4,900. I think he's going to have pretty good ownership, though, at his price. It is Cam Ward in net. I don't like Cam Ward. I'm very outspoken about Cam Ward. Just because he always ends up being chalk, and it doesn't make any sense. I know this is a great matchup for him, as the Avs suck, but Cam Ward isn't good. You look at his numbers last October, they were great. This October, they were good. The rest of the season, they were terrible. He's getting up there in age. I think, it's a winnable game for him. I get that. And if you want to use him, especially if you're using the Hurricanes, I get it. He is not a preferred play. Like, if you're not using the Hurricanes, I have zero interest in Cam Ward. If it bites me in the ass, bites me in the ass. I know what kind of goalie he is. He's not the same goalie that he was 38 years ago when he was 31 years old. Especially, he has a decent price at 7,200. I get it. I can't do it unless you're using Hurricanes. For Varlamov at 7,300, coming off a awful performance against the Knights, I think he rebounds. This could be a low-scoring game. For Varlamov, he'll give up 4 goals on 21 shots, and then the next game he'll have a 59 save shutout. Like, he's bipolar. So I think you can, especially if you're using McKinnon or you're using a full line with like Barry or Johnson, I think you can, take a chance on Varlamov on a GPP. Hurricanes do shoot the puck a bunch. Sometimes they do struggle to score. I could see this being like a 2-1 game. It could be completely wrong, and it could be like it's going to be like 6-5. But you can make a case for both goalies in GPP. I just think Cam Ward is going to have higher ownership than he should, and I don't think he's very good. Did I mention I don't think he's very good? But yeah, let's move on to the next game of the night. We have the Pittsburgh Penguins traveling to Calgary to face the Flames. Now, I don't know if Matt Murray's playing on the back-to-back or Tristan Jarry is making his NHL debut. Either way, I am in on Calgary tonight. Normally, I like using the top line of Calgary at home, and they're definitely in play. Gaudreau, Monahan, I think with Yager it's Furland on the top line. I don't really. For me, if I'm going to use the top line, I'm going to go Monahan, Gaudreau, and a defenseman. My preferred play is, yeah. I mean, Pittsburgh on back-to-back on the road. They give up a ton of goals. They're not very good defensively. You're either going to get a tired Matt Murray or you're going to get an NHL debuting Tyson Yari. My preferred play, just from a salary perspective, would be the 3M line. They're a little under 14,000 a full stack. It lets you get in Boston, lets you get in Tampa, lets you get in Dallas. Even though they do get the tough defensive responsibilities, they're probably going to go up against the Crosby line. The Crosby line isn't very good defensively. The one thing that does worry me about using Calgary too is that most of their starts are in the defensive zone, but they do share power play time together. And they're so cheap, so I definitely think you can go there with the more expensive lines. If you want to go Dougie Hamilton, you can go Dougie Hamilton. Brody's not a bad play. Giordano's up there. I have a weird feeling that Dougie Hamilton breaks out eventually, whether it's tonight or the next game. I think he's still reasonably priced at 4,500. I think he can go there. I actually like Mike Smith tonight at 7,800. I'm a Mike Smith truther. He's getting up there in age, but I think this is a pretty good matchup. Pittsburgh on the road on the back-to-back. I think you're going to get him. You're going to get Mike Smith at pretty low ownership, I believe. So at 7,800, I think you definitely can take the chance in a GPP, especially if you're using the Flames. The Flames are pretty decent defensively. I like picking on teams on the road on a back-to-back, even if it's the high-powered offense of the Penguins. I don't really have interest in either of the Pittsburgh goalies tonight. Matt Murray going a second straight game doesn't really interest me at all. Tyson Yari making his NHL debut doesn't really interest me either, especially on the road. Yari probably wouldn't use unless it's a home start in a favorable matchup. So let's move on to the second to last game of the night. We have the Buffalo Sabres against the Arizona Coyotes. Buffalo won, definitely one of my top plays tonight. I know Antti Ranta's back. He's coming off I think a groin injury, knee injury. I don't think it really matters. Arizona is not very good. I mean, goaltending's been a massive issue for Arizona. Ranta is definitely better than anything they've had in net so far this season. Domingue isn't very good. Aiden Hill isn't, he's young, so maybe he'll develop. But Scott Wedgwood, Ranta is definitely the best of that group. Is he an NHL starter over a full season? That's to be determined. I love Buffalo's top line tonight. Yeah, Mike Smith was good in Arizona. I think that's why I like him. Although he did cost me a live final seat last year, and that is all the sads. But Buffalo won, definitely one of my top plays tonight. Eichel, Kane, and Pominville. It doesn't really matter if they get the top line of Arizona tonight. I don't, believe in them defensively. They're more of a prove it for me. And on the flip side, Arizona one's definitely in play. Buffalo gives up an intense amount of high danger scoring chances per 60. Leonard has been good. I like Leonard, but man, he gets hung out to dry. So Buffalo won, Arizona won. Definitely some of my top plays. Arizona one is super cheap for a top line. I'll let you get in another expensive line. I like them. Buffalo is a couple thousand less expensive than Tampa. I think that's a great spot for them. They're a late game. They're in a good matchup, so they probably will have some ownership. But again, it is a 12-game slate, so ownership should be pretty spread out. Secondary lines, if you want to use, the Ryan O'Reilly line, they're cheap. Okay, they're not. They're going to see the Christian Dvorak line probably, and they're just awful defensively. If you want to go there, that's cool. Don't really have too much interest in the depth lines for Arizona. That would be the top line for me. For Arizona, Oliver Ekman-Larsson. I keep beating this dead horse here. 4,400 is too cheap for him. Jason Demers, 3,400, definitely in play. Ristolainen. Now we're talking about Buffalo. Ristolainen, 4,800 is too cheap for him. He's due to break out eventually, even though he's a freaking garbage can in his own zone, but that doesn't really matter for DFS. Scandella sees top pair minutes at 3,200. You can go there as well. Ronta is super cheap at 6,900. You can use him in a GPP. Buffalo isn't a very good team, but that top line is scary. But 6,900, I think you can have a little bit of exposure in a GPP just because it frees up so much salary. You can go there, especially if you're using Coyotes and you're not using the Sabres. I think that's an option there. Leonard at 7,600, I do like him just because after the top line of Arizona it gets a little funky for the Coyotes. I think Zach Rinaldo's on the third line. How is he on a third line? How is he in the NHL? It's Zach Rinaldo. So I think you can make a case for Leonard as well. He's going to see the shot volume because Buffalo can't stop a nosebleed in their own zone. So, Leonard can stand on his head, see over 30 shots. I think he's a decent option in a GPP. I would avoid both in cash because this game could easily, light up the scoreboard. I think it's going to be a back and forth, high-paced game. Both top lines definitely up there for me as favorite plays. So this is it. I do think the Coyotes are going to shoot enough to play Leonard just because they're so bad defensively. They give up the most high danger scoring chances per 60. Who is their best defender? Scandella. He was the third pair D-man in Minnesota. Ristolainen, couldn't stop me on a couch. He's so bad. And who are their other D-men? Antipin, he's unproven. Jake McCabe. They're so bad. I think Arizona probably even, being not even the best offensive team could get 30 shots. So, yeah, I think you definitely can make a case for Leonard. But let's move on to the last game of the night. Toronto Maple Leafs traveling to LA to face the Kings. Toronto's on a back-to-back, right? Are they? Did they play yesterday? Either way, I'm not a huge fan of them. Two best goalies tonight, probably Quick. Johnny Quick is definitely up there for me. Jake Allen. Quick and Jake Allen are probably my salary agnostic. I like Quick and Jake Allen. Yeah, Smith is up there too. Well, let me just go through this game real quick, and then I'll get to my top plays. Toronto did play last night. Again, they're on the West Coast. They're on a back-to-back. I really don't like the Maple Leafs too much tonight. Obviously, if you want to use Matthews, you can use Matthews. He is, I don't want to say the best. He's definitely up in the conversation as one of the best players in the NHL already. He's amazing. For me, my lean would be to Quick. Kopi, yeah, I definitely could see Kopitar, Drew Doughty, Mini in cash. What's his face is starting for the Maple Leafs. It's not Freddie Anderson. It's Curtis Mick, whatever his name is. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it this late in the pod. My mouth is so dry. Yeah. It's weird because I actually like the top line of it. Yeah, Curtis McShitty. We'll just go with that. Yeah, he was. I think he was on. He was Columbus. He was on Columbus for a little bit. Not that it matters. He's not very good. I actually like the top line for the Kings tonight. Kopitar, Brown, even though I don't like Browns, and Iafallo. I think you don't have to go there. I think they're probably going to be a little bit lower owned since it's a 10:30 start. No one wants to wait that long to have their players play, so they're probably going to be a little bit lower owned. I also like the second line. It's the problem that I have with the second line is they don't see too much time on the ice. Like, I don't get it. Like, where's the time on the ice going? Like, they're only playing like 13, 14 minutes. But again, they're cheap. Adrian Kempe, Tyler Toffoli, Tanner Pearson. They're arguably as a whole line, they're the most talented line on the Kings. Kopitar is their best player. But as a line, I think Kings 2 is the most talented. But they're cheap. They let you get in. And it's also the whole power play too, which is nice. Let you get, you can use with Muzzin or Alec Martinez. What was I saying? Oh, the thing with LA2 is they're around the same price as Calgary 2 tonight, the 3M line. So I think more people will go to 3M. So you might even get LA King 2 at lower ownership, although my preferred play would be the 3M line. Adrian Kempe, since moving up to the second line, even before moving up to the second line, has been playing really well. I don't know if you have to go to the Kings tonight. But again, Toronto is just a mess defensively. Curtis McShitty's in net. You definitely can make a case for Kopitar, Doughty, and Cash. I would avoid the second line in Cash just because their time on the ice is a bit worrisome. And Johnny Quick, for me, is definitely in play. He's, playing really well. Outside of Matthews, a tired Toronto team. I like the matchup. They're probably going to win the game. I don't have much faith in McShitty. I'm so tired. But yeah, that is the 12-game slate. So top plays for me, GPPs if you're stacking. Obviously, Tampa won, Boston won, Dallas won, I think. Buffalo won, Arizona won, definitely in play. Love the 3M line tonight. Islanders are in play. The Blues are in a great spot. There's so many places to go. I don't think, Boston's probably going to be pretty chalky. Other than that, and Tampa will probably be pretty chalky too, but other than that, I think the ownership will be very spread out. Tampa Bay 2, yeah, as a cheap line, definitely, the Rangers suck. But as a cheap line, I think, in that, $13,000, $14,000, $15,000 range to full stack the line, I think my top option would be the 3M line. Thoughts on one of the wild? I prefer the top line for sure. If you're not in on a carry price, Minnesota 1's definitely in play. I don't mind the second line either. Yeah, Quick is expensive. He's a 10:30 start. Maple Leafs have a good offense. I do like Pittsburgh 1. The thing is, I don't like targeting teams back-to-back on the road. If you want to play them, that's cool. You probably get them at really low ownership. I'm in on Mike Smith tonight, but Pittsburgh 1 is always in play, just not somewhere I'm going to go on a 12-game slate. I think there's better options than targeting teams back-to-back on the road. So I'll take questions for a couple minutes, and then I'm going to hop into chat. Cash, I think there's better spots to go than Crosby in cash. I think, Stamkos. Holtby, yeah, Holtby 7,300, but who's on defense? Brooks Orpik, he's a road cone, and that's being nice. Nice. Join chat. You get AD's line matching article. You get all the optimizers. You get projections. You get a whole bunch of good stuff. You get to talk to me. Do I play who? Well, um, oh no, I don't. I have a 3-year-old son, man. I don't have time for video games. He keeps me on my toes. Solo top two for what? Forward, just forward for GPP. I do have, this is my job, so I do have time. Top forwards. Salary agnostic, Kucherov, and Patrice Bergeron. Under the radar line, I don't know if under the radar on a huge slate. I'll say yeah. I don't know. You're gonna get most of the lines. Like anything outside of Boston 1, Tampa 1 is gonna be fairly low owned. So I don't know. There's gonna be a whole bunch of teams flying under the radar. I don't know about Boston too, man. Their depth is. I live close to New York, so I was not happy about that. All right, guys, I'll wrap this up. What part of New Jersey are you in? I am in North Jersey. When I'm playing GPPs, I usually go 4-3-1. I go 4 from one team, 3 from another, and a 1 off defenseman. Yeah. Better check yourself before you wreck yourself, fool. All right, so I will be back tomorrow. I have free articles that I do. I will mix it up. It'll be Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I'll mix it up. I'll have cash game plays. I'll have, no, you're cool. Cash game plays. I'll have GPP stacks. I'll mix it up if you guys have any ideas. Your sister disagrees with that, but if you have any article ideas, you can shoot them my way on Twitter. I'll write something up. Yeah, you like that was a quick response. But yeah, I will be in chat tonight. Actually, in about 20 minutes. We have the premium stuff that I went over, so we'll see you tomorrow on the pod. You can find me on Twitter, JRH002DFS. Peace.